Hi, I'm JD, and welcome to this week's episode of 10-Year Transformation. This week's episode is coming to you from my place in New Jersey. I just filled up the bird feeder, so I'm hoping some birds visit today while we're recording. It was pretty strange this weekend. We had a deer come up to the feeder, and it was actually eating from, sticking, I guess, its tongue right in the middle of the, into like one of the little slots and getting some seeds, which was pretty interesting. We've also had some resident squirrels that I think I talked about last week that's kind of strange. They made their home here, and they come up on the porch, and my wife actually took a picture of one that was right up against the glass, which is a pretty cool picture. So picking up where we left off last week's episode I think was really solid. We had some good viewership. I think I'm back on my game. I apologize from that episode a couple weeks ago where I feel like I really was dialing it in. So I really want to get back on target as far as making sure that the content that I'm providing to you is really useful and something that you walk away with an actionable plan that makes you feel that your time that you spent was worth the effort. So today, just to get us started on where we are today, something I'm very proud of this weekend. I finished the first draft of my manuscript for the first book I've written. It's called Sweet Virginia. It's a memoir of my life with my mom and lessons that she taught me over the course of her life and the course of my life. Fantastic book. I'm very excited about how it's coming out so far. First draft was about 70,000 pages, which equates to about a 150-page book. Did some revisions. I'm actually working on the revisions as we speak, and I'm hoping to get to the point where it's roughly around the same amount of words, but a real tight, coherent story that you will enjoy, and you certainly, all my viewers will be the first ones to hear about when it's ready to move to the next step. I'm going to dedicate, give myself a month to work on the revisions, the editing. So I'm going to edit myself, and then at that point, once those initial edits are complete, I'm going to send it to an editor. I'm going to hire an editor to look it over, polish it up, and then at that point we'll look for an agent and hopefully a publisher, and hopefully we have it published by the end of 2022, which is my goal. So today's episode is a pretty important one. I think I've touched on it in some of my writing, but I've never actually made a video about it, and I think it's a very important topic. It's called The Power of Journaling. And I have my journal here with me today. This is a beautiful journal. I think I actually bought it on sale at Staples for like $1, which was crazy to think I have this beautiful bound hard copy, hardcover journal that I'll have for many years. I'm only a little bit ways into it, and I do save all my journals from over the course of my life, so I can refer back to them. Various reasons. If I want to kind of get an idea where my head was at a particular time in my life during a particular event, I can turn back toward the journal and look at it as a reference guide of where I've come from and hopefully where I'm headed. So I'm going to start out. There's 5 points that I'd like to bring out in terms of journaling. So it's going to keep it tight and maybe some takeaways, and you'll start your own daily journaling as well. So a journal is a roadmap. That's what we're looking at. So when you sit down, if you're going on any type of trip, I think I spoke about this in an earlier video, you want to have that roadmap. You have to figure out where you're headed to. So by having the journal, no one is judging you. You're not necessarily sharing your journal with anyone else. No one's judging you. No one's looking over your shoulder and critiquing how you're writing, checking your spelling, checking your grammar. Nobody's doing that. So it's your time to sit down and just with your own thoughts and create this roadmap of where you want to go in your life. So if you're on a 10-year journey like I am, I can look at it and say, wait a second, okay, this is what's working, this is what isn't what's working, this is what I want to modify, this is what I have to improve. All these little tidbits, you're able to get down on paper and reread them and look it over and see if it makes sense. And that's something I continually do. I write in my journal, and I continually reference my journal as well. I'll go back to it, look at where my head was at during a particular time, because things tend to reoccur in your life. Good times, hopefully, and bad times, unfortunately, tend to occur in your life. So by having that journal, you could kind of see how you work through a different period of your life. Like when my mom passed away, that was a tough period for me, and I did a lot of journaling at that point, and it helped. It was very cathartic to get the words out onto paper, to be able to feel that, just kind of release them from my mind, so to speak, and get them onto paper. That's not particularly something I like to go back and reread, but it is out there. So that's your first step. It provides this roadmap that you can refer back to, because when you're on a journey, unless you have photographic memory, you're not looking at a map or GPS once and just be like, oh, I got this all figured out. Most people aren't like that, so they have to keep referring back to it. So the journal, by having a routine, a journaling routine, it provides something where you can refer back to it, go back to it, have a point of reference, and see what may need to be modified. The second point with journaling is, as I alluded to, is the release feeling that you get from putting words onto paper. Even if you're not a very good writer or you don't enjoy writing, just getting words out of your mind and onto the paper feels very, very good. It releases this clutter from your brain. I think a lot of people are carrying around this clutter in their brain of ideas, what they have to do, what they're thinking about doing, problems they have. Any number of things you could be just carrying around in your brain. By getting them out onto paper, and it's almost your diarrhea of the brain. You're just getting it out onto the paper, and it's all there. It doesn't make a difference, like I said. No one's sitting there and grading you on your grammar or your word count or anything like that. But you're able to get it all out, and then once you do, you don't have to keep it stored in there anymore. You could go back to it and be like, what was I thinking about? And you look back and say, oh, okay, that's how I process this. And now you have it on paper, and you can release it from your brain. If you've never tried this, I highly, highly, highly encourage it. That release that I feel after I write something down, get it onto paper, just get it out of my head, is just an amazing feeling, and I'm able to that's it. I'm able to it's on the paper. If I want to remember what I was thinking about, I just go back and reread it. If my handwriting is awful, so a lot of times, like, I could barely make out what I was writing, but I'll pick up on a few letters, and I'm like, oh, that's what that word is. So I really, really encourage you to sit down for that effect alone, if nothing else, just to clear the fog out of your brain. The third part of journaling is words have power. And what do I mean by that? You can express exactly how you feel, because again, this is not something that you're being graded on. You could get these thoughts out, you get these words out, you release them. If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling happy, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling elated, whatever the emotion that you're feeling, you're able to get that out into words. Perhaps you can't verbalize it correctly. Perhaps there's no one to verbalize it to, or you're ashamed, or whatever reason why you can't speak to someone and say those words directly. By getting them down onto paper, you can say it however you want. Sometimes I have angry conversations with myself. I just had an angry conversation with myself recently, and I crossed it all out because I said, this is not benefiting me. I was feeling particularly disempowered, particularly unresourceful, particularly kind of just feeling sorry for myself. And I realized, no one cares. No one's going to turn around and pick you up and say, oh, okay, pat you on the head. That's not reality. So I wrote it down, and then I went back about an hour and a half later. I went to the gym, cleared my head out, and crossed out the page. It's still there. I didn't tear out the page and throw it away. It's still there. I crossed it out, and I thought it through, and I wrote on the next page, resourceful thoughts, actionable plans to correct my thought process. That's what I did. The words had power. It was like crying on someone's shoulder. I metaphorically cried on someone's shoulder, wrote out, oh, woe is me, ba, ba, ba. And then that person that read it, who is still me, went back and said, suck it up. I crossed it out. Start over again. Powerful thoughts. Very, very, very important process. That's the best word. Process, habit. Process, habit. These are the things I like to refer to when I talk about journaling. Process, habit, routine. These are the powerful mechanisms that I think, such a powerful mechanism, I should say, is journaling, that I cannot over emphasize how passionate I am about journaling. The fourth step is it allows you to gain clarity. Now, gaining clarity to me is a tremendous resource, and that's something I refer to when I was saying, getting that fog out of your brain. But by having that clarity, by getting the words out, you can figure out if something makes sense, if maybe you're correct. If I had written that unresourceful and just terrible journaling, and I just left it there, it would have just been there. But I went back to it. I was able to gain some clarity on it. Like I said, went to the gym, wrote it down, went to the gym, thought about it, came back and said, wait a second, that's not who I am. Crossed it out, start over again. Like, I had the conversation with myself. I was the protagonist and the antagonist all in the same time. I was able to, basically coach myself out of that negative mindset. And this was just today. And today, right now, I feel fantastic. Had I kept that in my head, perhaps I would not have had the clarity that I feel right now. And that's why I think that it's journaling such a powerful tool. To that point, the fifth point I like to make about journaling is successful people journal. If you read and you study success, as I do, and I do voraciously, you find out what makes, success leaves clues. I use that phrase, success leaves clue. I think I got it from Tony Robbins. Success does leave clues. It's very hard if you look at someone that's tremendously successful in whatever their field of endeavor is. If they're a fantastic janitor and they're the best janitor in the world, so be it. But anyone who's successful in their chosen endeavor, whether you're running, a huge company or you're cleaning floors, if you're the best in your field, there's some clues about how you approach that job, how you approach life. There's some clues there. And one of the, like I said, successful people journal. Two traits that very successful people tend to have: they get up early in the morning and they journal. And third one I want to throw in there is exercise. But let's say those three, because all three are very important. Get up early, journal, and exercise. I try to do it every day. Even if it's a little tidbit, I try to journal every day. And there's got to be something there. There's got to be something there. If Bill Gates is doing it, if Elon Musk is doing it, Warren Buffett's doing it, and Jeff Bezos if all these people are doing it, James DeBella can do it too. I can gain something from it.